using your own personal devices and trying to avoid that. I think that Mr. Riley has been clear on his recommendation to council on how we should appropriately conduct ourselves with devices. But the Rule 45 was in anticipation of us being issued city cell phones, which we all have done that. But this was committee for discussion. Rule 46 more so discusses city council members shall not use any electronic device to transmit the conduct of a meeting of council or any committee thereof, public meeting conducted as a function of this office of government. So I think we all know what those two rules are. I think we're clear on Mr. Riley and law department's recommendation to us, but I'll open it up to council for comments, suggestions. Seeing none, open it up to the public.
Me again. If I may just for a second jump back to the previous thing that was being discussed, I think Mr. Riley told you that your mechanism was already there. The only thing I think it's lacking is implementation. 45 and 46, I have a question. The city telecast this year, is it done as a live telecast or a delayed telecast?
It is live.
It goes out live? And why would be, what seems to be a problem with the duplication of it? I know, let's be very honest, cut to the chase. It's because Mary, our councilwoman Spinkowski, sends it out on her stuff, okay? Is she sending out different pictures? I mean, is there something happening in council that I haven't seen? That she's sending out different pictures? Why are you worried about it being sent out? I think an informed citizenship is what you really want. No issues at all, transmit it. And give as many people as they can to see what's going on in their city. Maybe we could get a lot more things getting done. Starting to sound like some people in Washington who want to cut off voting for people and do all the rest of that. You used to want them to know nothing. You should send it out. If it breaks down, they're all not going to break down at the same time. So you'd have some type of continuous transmission going out there. If we just go start making rules, that's one of the big complaints about the citizens in the country. Too much government, rules and regulations. And here we are sitting trying to make some to stop the people finding out stuff that's happening to them in their daily lives. Think of it carefully.
Thank you. Take your time.
You said something that sparked me. Okay. I'm talking. Joanne Zelina, 2214 Wilson Drive, Lorraine. Jerry sparked something that sparked me back there. That's the problem with people do not come to council meetings. There are people who cannot get here. Maybe in 2 years, hope to God I'm still alive, hope I can still drive. I'll be here in that seat. So help me God, because I learn a H of a lot. I commend anybody else that's sitting here that has the guts to get up here and say something. Pat, I totally understand how you felt the day that you had to come here and beg for your employees. And it is a shame that that has to happen. To me, when a person is hired, just like in the out world, you know at that point what you are making. You know when you will have a review. You know all of this before you want to step 1 foot inside a city hall. And there should be every department that is in this building. Every time, whenever I chose to move in a job, I knew what I was going to make, I knew I would have a review in a certain amount of day. And come on, leave me off of there, okay?
No,
Well, maybe it's the truth. I don't know.
there's no expectation of privacy in public.
Okay, that's fine. But you know what? I learned that from Bob. You fought for every person. I don't care if you are in a union or you are not. And that's what I am trying to hold up since he died. People have a right to say what they want and when they want it. So just please remember all of this for everyone. Mary has a right. She had a right because she wanted the people of the city of Lorraine to know what goes on within these walls. And that should not be taken away. But thank God, we're going to do it. And that's what has to happen. So the people that, I don't have that privilege. I don't have that availability to stay home and listen to what goes on in this place. So that's why I made a motion to myself and to Bob that from the day after he was cremated, I would step up for him in the labor movement of the city of Lorraine so that the people that are not, don't have the availability to do things and to have someone else make a voice for them. But make sure it is the right voice, not the one that just turns around and takes care of a certain amount of people. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Just for clarification, right? We do have a keeper of our records, which is our clerk of courts, and this is just an effort to clean those records up.
Yep.
As well as, just so you know, Miss Alina, we do live stream it for the intention of those folks that cannot be here in person. That's why we do that. And again, I think this is just an effort to clean up the enormous amount of public records requests we get for everything that we do. It certainly drives why we have laws behind us and why we're even discussing this.
Garen Petty, 3728 Ivanhoe Drive. Can I get the clerk to read Council Rule 3?
Sure.
Listen.
We don't know what that is off the top of our head, Mr. Petty, but does it pertain to Rule 45 and 46? Because that's what we
It pertains to the Ohio Open Meetings Act. 121.22. Can it be explained by the law director about videotaping and talking to citizens during the meetings? Is that prohibited by the Open Meeting Act?
Mr. Riley will discuss that after all public comments. Okay, for you.
Okay, because I've got public records requests in trying to get an answer for that. I suggest y'all look up the Open Meeting Sunshine Law about council people speaking to people outside the meeting. Okay? Have a good night.
Did we file it in court then?
Do it.
Yeah, you're an authority on that.
That's right.
Yeah, you've lost everyone.
And I pay my taxes too.
Yeah, and I pay mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked it up in a court. It doesn't seem like you do. I am. As soon as this is over with.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's please keep it cordial. Stay on topic. Yes, sir.
Patrick Horn, 1015 Powder Boulevard. I had to agree with the person over here. He is right. We have an expectation to record anything we can see here in public. And the problem I have with this whole situation is Mary was out of her way. Like, she's in the back. Tell people that can't come to meetings, who can't see what's going on. And the other problem that's going on with you guys getting sued for this issue is we had phones here, some time ago, they got taken out. But there are some situations where, and I'm just gonna, I don't know who, I'm gonna pick on Beth, I'm gonna pick on Josh for a second. There are some issues where, they might not want to say something in public. It might be you don't want to have Beth say, hey Josh, when's the next financial claims meeting? There are some things where we have to shoot a text or say something that doesn't need to be said in the meeting. But I think the biggest problem that everyone has is that, our council people work very hard to come at the people that are out there that can't get to our meetings, that are out there that can't get to what they need to go to. And it should not come down on having an ordinance or a law against it, because that's what needs to happen. America's out for a way to help people who can't get to the meetings. And I think that this whole rendezvous and this whole crap about being sued is ridiculous. So, keep that in mind when it comes to people talking to people during council meetings. It's not because they don't want to see what we're saying. It's not because they have something they have to see what to say. It's the simple matter of fact that instead of having Beth and Josh yell across the table to talk to each other, it's something simple. And it doesn't need to be said out in public. So either find a way around and get the phones back so they can talk to each other that way, or do something that it works for everybody. Not just try and have everybody in one big cluster screw and let everybody make amends somewhere, have a compromise somewhere. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Perfect. Bounce it back to council. Ms. Springowski.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase and let's be perfectly honest, since we're all in an open meeting here. This was done because of the lawsuits that were filed against me, because I was transmitting the meeting, because I had a better feed than the city. You couldn't always hear it. It would be staticky, and I was doing it live streaming on there. People were commenting. If somebody was working nights and was watching it and couldn't ask a question, they'd put it on there on social media, and I would ask it in council, so it would become part of the record. And what it was is I wouldn't acquiesce to somebody bullying me and bullying people that were on my feed, people that had blocked a certain person on my feed, and that person asking to find out what they had said. They didn't want to have any conversation with him because he bullied them. And he tried to bully me, and I wouldn't back down. And he's asked for things that he's not entirely entitled to. I have text messages that'll come into me on my personal phone from my family with my mother, my father, my husband, or my children. I have my mother in the hospital right now. She's protected by HIPAA. Nobody in here is entitled to know what her medical condition is. Yet my family will go and text me to ask me questions about it because I have her power of attorney. My daughter was in the hospital, and so was my granddaughter. And I was getting constant updates from my grandson, from my son-in-law on this, and for the care of my grandson. If my husband is texting me, how long is this meeting going to be? There's a husband-wife confidentiality and privilege there. But that doesn't matter to some people because they want to know everything about my personal life and about what I'm doing. Now he's videotaping me right now.
No, this is live.
And it'll become a taping part of the record.
It'll be live.
Please direct everything through the chair.
Don't be talking about me then.
If you want to talk.
Put everything through the chair. I've been...
There's a man showing you some intelligence.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Ms. Springowski is speaking. I'd appreciate if any of your comments would go to the mic. We already had the public part of this. That's done. You had an opportunity to speak. If you didn't speak what you needed to speak then we don't want to hear it now. Thank you. Ms. Springowski.
Thank you. When we start these meetings, our council president tells everybody to turn off their electronic devices. I think that that is an error because it should be silence your electronic devices because we are given tablets and we are given city cell phones. Now I silenced my phones and I gave my tablet to the clerk because she didn't have one. I use my own iPad. I have my laptop here so that I can read it on a bigger screen because my eyes are not what they used to be in their day. And I like to have it on a bigger print screen so I can see it. My tablet is because then I always have my notes. I won't lose them on a piece of paper. I'm not going to shut it off. I'm going to keep it on. I have all alarms and all notifications silenced. And I don't answer my city cell phone, which is what everybody calls me on now. I do not answer it when I'm here. I don't even bring it to council. I leave it at home. There are some people in this city that used to come to these meetings or do come to these meetings that are here present here tonight that are going to go out of their way to bully people and try to make them bow to their demands, to things that they are not entitled to. And I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm here until the end of the year, and I'm going to continue to represent the people of Lorraine to the best of my ability and share as much information as I can. Anything that I have been requested of by the law department and by the clerk of council, I have turned it in. And I have asked for clarification on things. If these people are asking me stuff, the gentleman that filed the lawsuits against us, he chose to block me on my campaign page. So therefore, he denied himself the ability to access what was open to the public. I don't have to go and provide him with information then if he's chosen to block himself from having access to it. That's his problem, not mine. And he's going to continue to do this until the end of the year. But after the end of the year, I'm once again a private citizen, and I'll be in this audience, and I'll be watching everything, and I will be videotaping it or live streaming it. But I'll do it without the sound on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in council?
Mr. Market.
President Arredondo.
Through the chair to our council clerk, how long have we been live streaming our meetings?
About 3 years.
So it was before 2022.
Yes.
Okay. So in 2022, the first meeting we have what is always called passage of acceptance of council rules. So in council rules, it's pretty well spelled out to tell you what the do's and don'ts are. And if I have to, what I'm not going to do now, our council clerk could very easily check the record to see how people voted. And to my knowledge, in the 16 years that I've been council president, I think the rules have always been accepted by acclamation or unanimously, okay? So Ms. Brangowski knew that you were not supposed to be using any electronic equipment. I had various meetings with our law director. I know I spoke to Ms. Brangowski herself, so did the law director, about live streaming meetings because we have them here. We've also have lawsuits pending, and I could ask Mr. Riley, how much has that cost the city so far in defending these lawsuits? And it seems that out of 11 council members, there's only one that has to challenge the system and cost the city money with these lawsuits, which to me is preposterous. Because if you voted to take an oath to uphold the rules, why are you there breaking them? So once again, the people who want to see it, it's live stream. If people want to call in, do they have access to call in, Madam Clerk?
No,
They don't.
not during the meetings, no.
Okay, not during the meeting.
No,
Can
but
they,
our meetings are live streamed and then they are available on demand the next morning by noon at the latest, the day after a meeting.
can they email us it?
They can email me any questions that they have.
Okay, but they cannot call in.
They cannot call in.
Right. So you still have access to email, and to tell me that electronic equipment, how are they contacting Ms. Brangowski? Could be by phone, which she, like she said, she gets the messages. But the whole point is that we have all agreed to these rules. Now we're going to have amendments to these rules, And if I heard correctly, Ms. Frangowski said she's still gonna do what she wants to do. So, I don't know what else to say. Electronic equipment, and I would sympathize with her because I do too. If we have family members, like you said, if they're sick in a hospital, something. But I think the whole idea of not using the electronic equipment was not to be doing business. If you want to use an iPad for notes, I keep mine here too. I have no problem if I got to look up my notes here or something like that. But I think the whole idea was about this live streaming, and like I said, Mr. Riley, you could answer if you so desire. We still have lawsuits pending on this. No more. Okay, that's good. But we've incurred costs. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Riley.
Just to say some things briefly. First of all, I think the question is valid if posed from the public perhaps. And they don't know all that goes on during our business. So to give them some inside look perhaps. It wasn't, the law department is not in a position to attempt in any way to tell council what it should and shouldn't do. I think that that's ridiculous. And I want to say to you that these proposed rules are not an effort by the law department to do anything particular as it regards your decision-making and the rights that you otherwise have. Let me tell you how these came about. It's not the law department that attempted to invade council's province to determine what its rules should be, but rather frustration expressed by your clerk, by the law department, and by your IT director in the dealing with all the public records requests that we received. If you understood how many public records requests we get, and how difficult they are for us to review and otherwise disclose. I mean, at times, and that's what it is in the past, I have considered coming to council and say, look, I need a position. And I've had this discussion with the police department and other departments here. We need a dedicated public records request officer who can spend 24/7, getting these public record requests and then using them. So the issue here was not as to any particular council person, although you may feel that way. It isn't. Nor was it in response to any particular member of the public suing the city. Those have been dispensed with, as I think they should have been. But really, it was more a matter of how are we going to manage this workload and whose responsibility is it to produce these records? Because one, the workload is overwhelming, and two, the responsibilities were unclear. And so the overture that we're making to council is not in some way to dictate or limit the public's access to the public's business. If there's anyone here who believes that this is the public's business and they should have absolute access to that which the law allows and requires, it's me, believe me. But in the months that led up to these rules being formulated and proposed, one, council was given from an agency of the state what were a series of pieces of information that set forth best practices. And Brianna and I have spent hours studying those best practices and trying to distill them down to something that can be easily entertained by council and perhaps implemented. In addition, I think Brianna and I and Dave Comer, your IT director, came to conclude that it's unclear by members of the council, law director, clerk of council, is who it is who's responsible for keeping these records. And for what period of time is it that they have to keep them? And I think in the best practices that were suggested by the
Ohio History Connection and the Ohio Electronic Records Commission,
those records that are kept on your personal devices are your responsibility. And it's unfair to suggest that Brianna in some way should otherwise be responsible for retrieving from you, from your own personal electronic devices, that which may otherwise recordize the functioning of your offices. And she was frustrated with that, as I was. And so the effort here was made only to, one, perhaps give you food for thought, two, suggest to you what we discerned from the state as to what best practices might be something you would consider, and for us to clarify who's going to keep what records, and when requests are made, who has to give them up. And these records really, in my opinion, provide a better roadmap, a clearer expression as to who's going to keep what, whose responsibilities are whose, and what it is that Brianna and me and Dave Comer are going to have to do going forward. sort of summarize my feelings about this, I certainly don't wish there to be any encumbrance upon the public's access to the government's business. There should be no encumbrance, no obstacle, except those provided by law. Two, this is an effort to help you understand what best practices you might wish to adopt or consider. And three, it gives your clerk, and your law director, and your IT director, a better understanding of who's going to be delivering what when the time comes. So the effort to try to take the records that you have from your personal devices, as suggested in proposed Rule 45, and put them in the public domain, but allow Dave Comer, and not you, to respond. You wouldn't be bothered with it. And so the transmission of those records and the storage of those records in the city's domain would allow you to use your personal devices to the extent you wish to, but otherwise perhaps make them available to David so he can otherwise produce them on request. So this was nothing more than an attempt to take simple common sense, take the law as we understand it, take the best practices suggested by your state, and implement them in a way here that might be easy and understandable and help Brianna and me and Dave perform our jobs as we require in the law.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Springhouse.
Yes, for clarification, I haven't live streamed a council meeting since Mr. Riley asked me not to. So you would be in error, Mr. President, on that. And a lot of this, when we're talking about the cost of these lawsuits, I wasn't the one that filed the lawsuits. And these lawsuits mostly got started because confidential emails that were shared with the law director and all of council were given to people that they weren't entitled to have. And that's what started that, because that broke the confidentiality of council. And the people that were involved were indicated in the deposition with regards to this lawsuit. So that's who you would need to look at with regards to incurring the cost. It wasn't based on anything that I had sent out, and I haven't live streamed since then, since this came up. I haven't live streamed from this desk since then. These aren't cameras. These are stands that I had in my drawer that I was taking out because I need them elsewhere. So I haven't done it because I took into consideration what it was doing to Brianna and what it was doing to Mr. Riley. So I just wanted that out there for the record and for clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carrion.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. A lot listening to Mr. Riley's statement about best practices, I think we need to be conscious of that and understand, as you know, the topic before, we're looking at the mechanism for adjusting the rates of our employees, especially those in Colmag. We need to do the same for areas that impact operations. You know, I'm a big proponent of operational efficiencies and finding ways to do more with the time that we have. In my time in the city, I worked for community development. Back then, during those times, I think we were the poster child for having to provide records requests. Okay, and anytime a records request came to our office, that meant that 2 or 3 staff would have to dedicate 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 days to be able to compile all this information, put it in order, tag it, make copies, etc. So you're talking about the monetary impact and the fiscal impact of the city in terms of the legal department doing their work, but then you also have an impact on staff time and the non-production that you're getting out of those staff members that are doing something else. So anything that we can do to improve on that, I'm a big proponent of that. I will say this with the best practices. I like transparency, and I like to get the information out to as many people as possible. I'll be frank, and I'll say that during times, I know times where I had COVID, and I was not able to come to the council meeting. I was able to log in on Ms. Brigowski's feed because it was better. I mean, the view was better, the sound was better, the picture was better, and I could hear it better. So what I'm saying with that is, if we want to make sure that we follow a process that protects the city, does not impact our clerk of council, legal department, and others, then let's look at the technology. Let's invest in the technology in this space here. I know we have a lot of barriers, structural barriers that give us challenges, but let's look at the technology, whether it's a different set of cameras, whether it's an owl that'll project to everyone so you can see everyone, you can hear everyone. When I log in to watch a council meeting or a committee meeting now, all you can see is a view, and it's a view that comes here. You can never see anybody on this side to understand what's going on, what's being said. So if we want to make sure that we do this, and we're going to focus strictly on one mechanism to disseminate this information to the public, I don't have a problem with that. But let's make it the best that it can be so people can see it truly for what it is. Now, for my recommendation, and I won't be here much longer on council, just the rest of this year, but the city has invested in the system, and now for 3 years, the city has been able to stream live these meetings, which is great. And I think all of us have the capacity and the opportunity that after those meetings are recorded, that we can provide that link to our people, to anybody that we might want, so they can access that and review it. Heck, we can do even better. We could actually go through and listen and watch the meeting and understand the key parts of the meeting where there's something important that your constituents should know and point them. Hey, look at the 23-minute mark. Look at the 46-minute mark. That way, they can be better informed. There are many ways that we can share that information. But I do believe that if we were going to go with one system, which I agree is in the best interest of our operations, let's improve it so it can be, maybe like Mary's or a little bit better. That can give people really the better sound, the better quality, the better view than what we have now.
Thank you, Ms. Carrier. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion and a second to send this to?
They never did read Council Rule 3,
Make a motion to send it to council.
which means they have to follow the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you. All those in favor?
I'm out.
Say aye.